How has climate change affected the polar regions? If you're curious about how climate change is impacting the polar regions, you're about to uncover some startling facts. Let's explore what's happening at the Earth's extremes. First off, the polar regions, especially the Arctic, are warming at a much faster rate than the rest of the planet. This phenomenon is known as polar amplification. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the global average, largely due to the decline in sea ice, atmospheric convection, and heat transport from lower latitudes. One of the key reasons for this rapid warming is the ice albedo feedback. When sea ice melts, it exposes the darker ocean surface, which absorbs more sunlight and heat, further accelerating the warming process. This feedback loop is particularly strong in the Arctic, where the loss of sea ice has been dramatic. Over the past 30 years, the oldest and thickest ice has declined by about 95%. The consequences of this warming are far-reaching. The melting of ice sheets and glaciers, particularly in the Arctic and parts of Antarctica, contributes significantly to global sea level rise. For example, the Greenland ice sheet alone is losing around 270 billion metric tons of ice per year, and if this continues, sea levels could rise by over a meter by 2100. The warming also disrupts atmospheric circulation, particularly the polar jet stream. As the Arctic warms, the temperature gradient between the polar regions and lower latitudes weakens, causing the jet stream to slow down and meander. This leads to more frequent atmospheric blocking patterns, resulting in extreme weather events such as heat waves, cold spells, and unusual storm patterns in mid-latitudes. In the Arctic, the loss of sea ice is threatening the habitats of iconic species like polar bears, seals, and walruses. These animals rely on ice for hunting and breeding, and their habitats are shrinking rapidly. Similarly, warming temperatures are affecting migratory patterns, food availability, and the overall balance of the Arctic food chain. Permafrost, the permanently frozen soil in the Arctic, is also thawing at an alarming rate. This not only causes erosion and damage to infrastructure like roads and buildings, but also releases large amounts of methane, a potent greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. This creates a dangerous feedback loop that further accelerates global warming. The impacts are not limited to the environment, they also affect human populations. Indigenous communities in the Arctic, such as the Inuit, Sami, and Yupik, are seeing their traditional ways of life threatened. Hunting, fishing, and herding are becoming increasingly difficult, and the thawing permafrost is causing damage to infrastructure, leading to costly repairs and displacement. Beyond the polar regions, the economic implications are significant. Rising sea levels threaten coastal cities worldwide with flooding, storm surges, and erosion, leading to substantial costs for infrastructure damage and disaster recovery efforts. In summary, climate change is drastically altering the polar regions through rapid warming, ice loss, and disruptions to ecosystems and human communities. These changes have far-reaching consequences that affect not just the polar regions, but the entire globe.